2 children are feared missing and possibly dead after up to 6 youngsters fell through ice on a frozen lake in Solihull on Sunday. 4 children were rushed to hospital in a critical condition after they were pulled from the lake in a state of cardiac arrest. Last night, specialist police divers were seen entering the water under torchlight as the huge search operation continued overnight. Emergency services were called to the scene at Babbs Mill Park in Kingshurst, Solihull amid freezing temperatures and icy conditions at just after 2:30 p.m. 2 children, said to be aged under 12, had been playing on the ice when it cracked beneath them. This prompted their friends to run onto the lake and try and help them, only to get into trouble themselves, eyewitnesses said. At a press conference on Sunday night, emergency services confirmed 4 children were fighting for their lives in hospital and search efforts were continuing amid reports 2 further children were involved. The Fire and Rescue Service confirmed that searches would continue overnight, but added that any ongoing activity would no longer be classed as a rescue operation. When asked about local reports that 1 child had died, West Midlands Ambulance Service Tactical Commander Cameron McVitie said there would be no clinical updates issued on any of the children at this time. Eyewitnesses described seeing responders smashing through the ice on the lake's surface as those first on the scene swam out into the water to rescue the nearest child. They added all 4 children were being given CPR on the way into waiting ambulances. At a press conference on Sunday night, it was confirmed police officers and fellow emergency responders rushed into the lake and were subsequently able to pull 4 children from its surface. West Midlands Ambulance Service Tactical Commander Cameron McVitie said all 4 were actively treated at the scene by specialist teams and were in a state of cardiac arrest when they exited the lake. They were rushed to hospital and were in a critical condition on arrival, having been given advanced life support on the journey. 2 of the children were taken to Birmingham Children's Hospital while the other 2 were taken to Birmingham Heartlands Hospital. No further updates on their condition were given. 1 police officer was also taken to hospital with a mild case of hypothermia, but is expected to make a full recovery. Richard Stanton, West Midlands Fire and Rescue Service Area Commander, said, "When the fire service arrived at the scene, we were made aware there were up to 6 people in the water. After rescuing the 4 children, we have continued the search and rescue operation to confirm whether there were any more in the water." He added, "The specialist medical advice we have been given on the scene, given the temperature of the water, given the age of those who entered the water and the amount of time they have been in there, this would no longer be a search and rescue operation." The fire service intends to hold the scene tonight as they try to confirm whether anyone else is involved. Area Commander Stanton said that when the fire service arrived, several police officers and members of the public were in the water looking for the children. Sophie, 23, a mental health support worker at the scene on Sunday evening, said, "I got here with my friends at 2:45 p.m. There were a group of youngsters playing near the lake, which was completely iced over. 2 of them had gone onto the lake and people were shouting at them that it wasn't safe. Then the ice cracked and the leg of one of the boys went in. The other 3 on the bank then went in to help and soon they were all in trouble." She claimed that one of the boys, an 8-year-old, had since died, but the emergency services refused to comment on those reports during a press conference last night. "He's the nephew of a friend of mine," she said. "He had been unresponsive for 2 hours and they have confirmed now that he has passed away." Describing the rescue efforts, Sophie said she saw 4 children being pulled from the icy water and transferred to waiting ambulances. They stretchered them up the bank to the ambulances waiting. They were giving them CPR as they were moving. There were at least 10 fire engines and 10 police cars parked on one street alone, the nearest street to the lake. Some local people continued to watch the operation into Sunday evening, numb at the realization that such an incident had happened on their doorstep. Ellie Harvey, 29, a mother of 2 who works in one of 3 nearby primary schools as a lunchtime assistant, said, "I saw all the blue flashing lights and knew something awful had happened. I understand they are all Year 5 and Year 6 primary school children. I have heard there is also one of the police officers, one of the first responders, has also been taken to hospital in a bad way. I think they were a group of friends. The lake was ice, and it is very enticing for children. I have a boy the same sort of age, but luckily he doesn't like playing out in the cold. There was ice on the lake, but it wasn't thick. In some places, the birds were still swimming, and in others, they were standing on ice. Stanley Busumani, 30, an Amazon worker who lives nearby, said, around 2:30 p.m. there were suddenly a load of ambulances, police, and fire engines arriving all at once. I have heard it is 5 kids. I have seen people sobbing down their phones, and a lot of very upset people. Photos showed rescuers in bright clothing out on the surface of the lake as they continued to search for anyone still trapped. At least one drone was deployed to shine a light over the lake for rescuers, who worked in boats with torches. Meanwhile, police officers were seen carrying a large tarpaulin to and from the lake as they loaded up equipment needed by rescuers. Diving equipment was also taken to the lake, with specialist water rescue teams on hand to search underneath the lake's surface. A local church group was giving out hot drinks to the dozens of emergency responders at the scene. Ananya Sandhu of the New Testament Church of God Kingshurst said, I read about this in the neighborhood chat and then we learned there were children involved. When we came down to offer our prayers we saw there were so many people involved in the search in freezing conditions, so we went back to the church to fetch an urn and some hot drinks. This is a tragedy for the community. We are very tight-knit around here and our prayers go out to all those affected. It comes as the weather worsened overnight, plunging well below freezing with more snow and ice to come. Among the emergency service vehicles to respond were 5 ambulances, 4 paramedic officers and 5 enhanced care teams, as well as a hazardous area response team. A trauma doctor and air ambulance service critical care car also rushed to the scene. A spokesperson for West Midlands Ambulance added, the hazardous area response team continued to work with colleagues from police and fire at the scene until around 6:30 p.m. to ascertain if there was anyone else in the water. Ambulance resources have now stood down. Superintendent Richard Harris, of West Midlands Police, told an emergency services press conference, on behalf of West Midlands Police we understand how distressing this is for families and the wider community, and we are doing everything we can support all those involved. The fire service advised the public, stay away from open water, do not venture out onto the ice. Eyewitnesses at the scene saw emergency service boats being used at the lake as rescue efforts continue. Rescue efforts were taking place amid freezing temperatures as Solihull hit -1°C by early evening on Sunday. A police cordon is in place around the lake as rescue efforts continue into the night. Local MP Saqib Bhatti said, my thoughts and prayers are with the whole community and I pray for all those that are affected. I am being kept updated as the situation develops. West Midlands Police said it was called to a serious incident just before 3 p.m. and those rescued so far are believed to be in a critical condition. They asked anyone with any information or video footage to call 101. West Midlands Fire Service and West Midlands Ambulance Service also had a heavy presence at the scene and search efforts are ongoing. In a statement, the West Midlands Fire Service said, reports from the scene and videos on social media indicate that people had been playing on the ice on a pond and had fallen through. Our specialist water rescue teams arrived and acted assertively to take control of the scene and carry out rescues using specialist equipment and entering the water. Casualties have received medical support at the scene from both firefighters and ambulance personnel prior to being taken to nearby hospitals. The incident is still a search and rescue operation, being led by West Midlands Fire Service. We would ask people to allow emergency services at the scene to go about their work in a safe and effective way. West Midlands Fire Service previously said their Christmas Carol concert at St. Martin's Church in Birmingham was cancelled due to an ongoing incident. Babbs Mill Park is a local nature reserve with a lake, river, wildflower grasslands, and woodlands. The incident followed a day of travel disruption amidst heavy snow in many parts of the UK as the Troll of Trondheim arrives bearing temperatures as low as -10°C. There were Met Office yellow warnings for snow and ice in place for much of Scotland, as well as parts of Wales and southwestern England until 12 p.m. today. +31. View Gallery. There were Met Office yellow warnings for snow and ice in place for much of Scotland, as well as parts of Wales and southwestern England until 12 p.m. today. On Sunday, drivers abandoned their cars in the snow, with police telling motorists to stay off the roads following a high number of crashes, with yellow warnings in place tonight into the morning. The Met Office issued a freezing fog warning this morning as Britain faces a fortnight of snow and ice chaos in the run-up to Christmas, with temperature lows of -12°C, 10°F, forecast tonight, making Britain colder than Iceland. Snow was seen in many parts of the country on Sunday morning, including the Cotswolds, Bristol, South Wales, Herefordshire, Cumbria, and Sheffield, with a large band of heavy snow heading towards the southeast of England this afternoon. Lakes and rivers froze over across most of the country, and on Sunday night up to 6 inches of snow could fall in London and Essex. The Met Office predicted a band of snow heading to Kent, Essex, and London in the afternoon, with flurries across the country through the week. More warnings have been issued across all England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland for Sunday night into Monday morning, as ice, fog, and snow continue to hit the country. Other warnings for ice and fog were in place in West, North East and North West England, East Wales, and Northern Ireland from 4 p.m. until 11 a.m. on Monday. On Sunday, the national forecaster issued an urgent fog warning until 11 a.m., which could create slippery surfaces this morning. The yellow alert covered South and Central England, with London, the Southeast, the Southwest, and the Midlands told to prepare for poor visibility of just 50 m in some places. Crashes were reported along the M4 corridor, in Warwickshire, and along the M54, with Brits urged not to drive in the snow, while trains in Kent have been delayed and the Sheffield Supertram part suspended. In Bourton-on-the-Water, in the Cotswolds, resident Jane Webb told Mail Online that drivers had been stuck in the snow for more than an hour, with some choosing to abandon their cars on the road. Meanwhile, police in Cornwall are warning people not to travel as it is too dangerous.